Good morning, Dr. Rahman. Welcome to the Chicago Heart Institute. I have your CV in front of me, but I'd love to hear it directly from you. Tell me about your background and what draws you to our cardiology program.
Good morning, Dr. Jenkins. Thank you for the opportunity. I am a physician from Cairo. My background is in internal medicine, and over the past 4 years, I have been managing a high-acuity cardiac step-down unit. Working in that environment showed me the critical need for rapid response protocols. Looking to the future, I want to specialize in advanced heart failure management. That is why I am applying here. I am highly interested in observing how your institute integrates new clinical guidelines into daily triage.
We certainly see a lot of high acuity cases here. Let me give you a scenario. You are observing on the floor. A patient's monitor shows a rapid AFib. A junior resident is asking you for advice on a different case, and an attending physician just walked in asking for a patient briefing. How do you mentally process that?
I am very familiar with that level of floor traffic. In any situation, my absolute baseline is patient stability. First, I would alert the nursing staff to the AFib monitor to ensure the patient is assessed immediately. Then I would briefly ask the attending for 2 minutes to manage the active clinical change. Only after the patient is stabilized would I step back to assist the junior resident. Clinical hierarchy is important, but patient outcomes dictate the timeline.
I appreciate that clear hierarchy of action. Now, medicine is an imperfect science. Tell me about a time you made a clinical or procedural mistake and how you resolved it.
Early in my residency, we had a very chaotic shift handover. I gave a verbal report to the incoming doctor regarding a patient's lab results, but let me rephrase that. I communicated the labs verbally without entering a flag in the physical chart. As a result, a follow-up blood draw was delayed by several hours. Fortunately, it did not harm the patient, but it was a failure in protocol. What I learned is that communication without documentation is just a conversation. I championed a structured S-bar checklist for all shift changes in our unit to ensure it never happened again.
Taking ownership of a system error is exactly the mindset we value here. Well, Dr. Rahman, I want to leave time for you. What questions do you have about the Chicago Heart Institute?
Thank you. I have 2 questions. First, regarding your rapid response teams. To be more precise, I am interested in your door-to-balloon time for acute cases. What is the biggest logistical hurdle your team overcomes to maintain your current success rates?
That's an excellent question. Our biggest hurdle is usually off-hours communication between the ER and the cath lab, which is why we implemented a unified paging protocol. Did you have a second question?
Yes, I know that observing is different than practicing. What is the most common feedback you give to international physicians during their first week here to help them transition from an active clinician to an effective observer?
Wow, very few applicants ask that. The most common feedback is to learn to watch the system, not just the diagnosis.
Ready to reclaim your voice and build your own high-stakes interview strategy? Practice these exact frameworks in the Clinical Authority Lab, the interactive, AI-powered interview simulator designed specifically for international physicians.